Hello Wellness Warriors, welcome to Mind-Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. The reason I make these videos is to help people to understand that your physical health and your mental health come together to make your overall sense of well-being. I want to take a moment to thank you guys for commenting. The reason that I do these videos is I want to help people to really gain more information, to really improve their knowledge about what's going to help them to feel healthy inside. When you guys ask questions and you give me a chance to maybe talk more on a topic or even talk about an angle from a topic that I hadn't really thought about, it helps everyone else because your question is very likely something that somebody else might have been thinking. So thank you so much for asking questions. So I have 3 questions for you today. The first one is coming from Ridge Runner 66. And she says, in your last video, you said you were needing to add fat to your diet to keep from losing any more weight. So how did we go from that to now wanting to fast for a week? So this is a question in relation to my fast last week. So last week, my last meal was on Monday. And then I fasted from Monday straight away through until Saturday was when I ate my next meal, which gave me 5 days fasted. I do understand why there might be some confusion there because there are people who use fasting as a way of managing their weight, so as a weight loss strategy. Although I do 1 meal a day, I do not use fasting as a method of maintaining my weight, actually. The reason that I do 1 meal a day is because, in all honesty, I'm not hungry during the day. And so therefore, for me to try to eat when I'm not hungry, I find it very uncomfortable and unpleasant. The other reason that I do 1 meal a day is because it fits my lifestyle. I'm often in my office where I don't have a kitchen. I don't have a stove. So for me to be able, at this point, because of the way that I'm now eating, to get through my day and eat when I get home, it's actually quite convenient for me. So that's the first part I'm going to say is that I was not fasting for weight loss. I've actually not fasted for weight loss. That's never been my reasoning. I treat 1 meal a day differently than I treat fasting. So for me, when I'm fasting, it means that I'm going more than 1 day without eating. On a very regular basis, I do 2 days of fasting, which could be anything from once a week to once every other week. The reason that I do that is because when you fast, you engage autophagy. Autophagy is when our body recycles cells and goes in and cleans up or corrects any problems that are being created through living, right? Every day that we live, our body is processing. And it's like a computer. When your computer processes, eventually it's good to defrag the computer and get everything back in order so that it can work efficiently. And it's the same thing with our bodies. Every once in a while, it's good to kind of defrag. The question I got was on my longer fast because I posted about that fast. Because for me, it's not typical to do a longer fast. I do them twice a year. And in that post, I talked about the fact that I was drinking just water, tea, or coffee. And again, because I'm not doing the fast to lose weight, although I did monitor my weight to make sure that I didn't go too low, because I am at maintenance as it is. So what happens in a fast is, of course, you're going to lose some weight. I'm not worried about losing weight because I'm not worried about eating. When I need to eat more, I do to keep my weight where I would like it to be. And so this is where I want my weight to be, not necessarily where my body stopped losing weight, which is why I add fat to some of the things that I eat. You need to know what you're trying to accomplish, whether you are doing keto without fasting or you're doing keto with fasting. It's important for us to be aware of what, first of all, we feel happy with and what we feel healthy with and what works for our situation. I started with my weight goal at 1 number and ended up 10 pounds below my weight goal and was still going down. So obviously I realized that at that point, even though I wasn't physically feeling hungry, that I wasn't comfortable with the way that I was looking. I thought I was becoming too thin. Everybody's different, right? I have an idea of what I look like healthy and what I look like when I'm feeling like I'm a little bit too thin. So I chose to keep myself 10 pounds under what I thought was going to be my original goal weight. It's an absolutely normal weight. It falls within what's normal for someone of my height. And so I have no issues with that. Everybody needs to make their own decisions about where their goal weight what their maintenance weight is going to be. So that's my answer to the first question. I don't fast for weight loss. I fast for autophagy. I fast for the health benefits. I fast for the reduction in inflammation, which was the reason that I gave when I said I was going to do my fast. Although I do 2 fasts a year, regardless. But this year, or I should say this fast, because this I think is my 3rd one. This fast, I did feel like if my hip was starting to bother me a little bit. And so I really did want to step in and do something right away. And I'm back to feeling to myself. So my hip is no longer bothering me. I'm feeling really good. And so I feel like the fast was an absolute success. The second comment that I want to answer came from Little Britches. She says, I want so much to live a ketogenic lifestyle, but I'm really struggling with kicking the sugar habit. I am a comfort eater, and my life is super stressful. With being the sole caregiver for my mother, I rarely get to leave the house, and I feel so suffocated some days. A bowl of popcorn is a welcome friend, but then chocolate candies creep into my mind, and keto is over. Again and again and again. And she asked if I have any tips. What I would say is that it's really important to recognize that this is not only about food, especially in this example that we're given here. If I'm the sole caregiver for my mom, and I'm committed to that because I love my mom, then I'm going to do things that put me in harm's way to protect my mom, like giving her all of my time and all of my attention and not doing things for me. It's really important, even when we're caregiving for our parents, that we have a break, that we have time to be with friends, and especially if mom is not in a position to be able to have a coherent conversation, that we allow ourselves to be around people who can have a coherent conversation. Getting a sitter for mom is going to give you the opportunity to go off and live your life a little bit and have a break from being a sole caregiver. This is important whether we're the sole caregiver for our children. This is important whether we are the CEO of a major company. It's important for us to have variety in our lives, and it's important for us to socialize. We are social animals. We live in communities on purpose. So when we create the situation where we're not interacting with others because we're putting work and responsibilities as the number one priority, and we're not giving back to ourselves. So we need to give back to ourselves not only physically with food and sleep and exercise, but also with social interaction. So if I give myself what I need socially, then I won't need to see food as my friend. I can see it for what it's supposed to be, which is a fuel source. Because that's what you need to do. You need to see food as a fuel source and see friends and family as ways that we enjoy other people's company and find entertainment together. So I hope that this answered that question. What I would definitely do is encourage you to go out there and find a sitter for mom so that you can have a bit of a life. My third example is coming from an actual conversation I had with someone. And the person was telling me that they've been doing keto for 2 months, was watching my videos, and was finding it very successful. And in his conversation with another person who had spoken to him about keto before he found my channel, so was doing keto for 2 months before him. So this young lady is doing 4 months of keto. She had lost 10 pounds in 4 months. And my friend was saying to me, well, he's not really sure he understands what her directions were because they differ from mine. So for those of you who don't know what the directions that I give are, it's keep your grams of carbs under 20 per day, eat moderate protein, moderate fat, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satiated. That's the basic condensed version of it. And what he was confused about is that apparently her doctor had told her that she's allowed to have a cheat meal every 3 days. And so he was confused because I had never mentioned that. So most of you who've been following my channel will recognize that I never talk about cheat meals. I never talk about going off plan because, in my opinion, going off plan is saying that my health is not a priority. So I don't encourage people to go off plan. But for 5 seconds, let's just talk about what this young lady is doing and why possibly she's down 10 pounds, whereas my friend is down multiple times that amount. When we start doing keto and we are keeping our grams of carbs most of the time under 20. And we are being very careful about the foods we're choosing now because we are choosing nutrient-dense vegetables and we're choosing good proteins and we're choosing healthier fats. We are going to lose weight. However, whether or not we are in ketosis is a different question. Being in ketosis is a state that your body has to learn. So it needs to figure out that I am now processing fats as my main fuel source. So when I'm trying to get my body to learn this, if for the most part, most people take 3 to 4 days to actually get into ketosis. If on day 3 I allow myself a cheat meal, then I'm actually very likely not in ketosis. Now, would that stop me from losing weight? Absolutely not. I'm still keeping my other 2 days, 3 days, I'm really keeping myself within a smaller frame of eating. But, and this is the big but, if I'm not in ketosis and I'm cycling through eating a ketogenic way of life and then having a cheat meal, which means I'm eating carbs and likely at this point not afraid to eat fat, the possibility exists that I'm not going to be able to continue this long into the future. Why? Because my cravings are still going to be there. The reason that I believe that this young lady is still having those cheat days every 3 days is because she's still eating carbs every 3 days. If I allow myself to indulge in my addiction, then my addiction will stay with me. So what I would say is that if you want to be successful in doing a ketogenic lifestyle, you need to engage the ketogenic lifestyle fully. Now, there are some people who can, for some reason, eat off plan. And when I say eat off plan, I mean really eat off plan, like have a piece of cake or have some starchy vegetables, go well over their 20 grams and not have a hit of negative physical repercussions like I do, right? They don't have a resumption of inflammation. They don't feel achy or sore. They don't get a stomach ache. That doesn't mean that that hit of carbs isn't doing something. Some people will just resume putting the carbs away, which means that you will store them as fat. So as in the case of this young lady, which is what I think is happening, is that she's not getting a negative physical hit, but her weight is very slowly going down. Now, what I'm suggesting for everyone to think about is that the more I allow carbs into my life, the more that means that my body has to store them. Even if it's happening only every 3 days, how many carbs am I eating in that day that I'm allowing myself to eat? Because they're going to get stored as fat. That's what happens. If you're trying to lose weight, the important thing to do is to recognize what causes us to store body fat. Our body fat is stored when we eat carbs. It's a decision we all have to make, right? Keto is not necessarily for everyone, because if your mindset is that this is a part-time, short-term situation, then at some point you're going to go back to eating carbs and then the weight will return. I really hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would love for you to share the video. If you are new here, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, click the bell so you know when I'm making new videos. I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. I'll talk to you in the next video.